The Sony Xperia Pro-I is an illustration of how the organization can in any case stick out by accomplishing something else entirely. This is a phone for photographic artists. And, to a much more prominent degree, videographers. The Sony Xperia Pro-I camera does a few extraordinary things. Its software makes adopting various strategies to shooting video and stills a lot more straightforward, and it evades the irritating symptoms of domineering camera insight. Here is the problem. The Sony Xperia Pro-I, to some degree, exchanges on the standing of Sony's great full-frame alpha mirrorless cameras. Yet, even with a better-than-most sensor ready, you get nothing like the post-shoot altering adaptability of those cameras. Furthermore, some of its adversaries offer more astute camera software, which compensates for the distinction in sensor size a significant part of the time. Camera, huge sensor, despite the fact that its viable size isn't the 1-inch asserted. Photographs are made for altering, not insta sharing. Great quality, however the software smarts linger behind the best. How about we start with the Sony Xperia Pro-I camera, since the main piece of the phone truly matters. There are 3 cameras on the rear of the gadget, and all utilization good equipment. There's a 2x optical zoom with a 12-megapixel 1/1.29 Sony IMX486 sensor, a 12-megapixel broad with the Sony IMX363 sensor, and the headliner is a 1-inch sensor. In view of the design found in the Sony RX107, a committed simple-to-use conservative from 2019. That actually costs around £1,000. In any case, Sony hasn't just stuck the innards of the RX100 into the Sony Xperia Pro-I. It utilizes a 12-megapixel window and the 20-megapixel sensor. This implies the compelling sensor size here is really like that of a few different phones, including the Google Pixel 6 and Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. So what is the justification for this? The Sony Xperia Pro-I would almost certainly look very changed utilizing the 20-megapixel sensor size. It would require a bigger focal point, probably unique hardware to peruse out the sensor information, which may likewise present overheating issues. Generally, you'd be taking a gander at a bigger, maybe considerably more costly, phone. In the event that you've come to the Sony Xperia Pro-I expecting the full force of a 1-inch sensor, then, at that point, you might be disheartened and you'd be legitimate. Nonetheless, we actually get to see how Sony can manage truly huge 2.4-micron sensor pixels. Calculates that opponents can draw near to exclusively by citing virtual sensor pixel sizes accomplished by blending the result of numerous pixels in a quad-Bayer cluster. The Sony produces decent pictures, however they will generally be moderately level gazing directly out of the camera. This look is more normal with snaps taken on modest phones. Yet the distinction here is that there's a far more prominent extension to cause the photos to seem how you need them to through an altering application. The Sony Xperia Pro-I's huge sensor pixels hold undeniably more shadow detail than those on low-end phones, offering the headroom to fundamentally support the shadows without winding up with masses of variety commotion or mushed-up detail. The Sony Xperia Pro-I processing has a lot milder touch than its opponents. In the fundamental simple-to-use mode, Auto HDR processing evades blown features. This is fundamental, even with bigger sensor pixels. The inquiry here is about whether you need a phone that produces pictures that aren't much of the time 100% prepared to share whenever you've caught them. Just like with pictures taken with a devoted camera, you can truly find how great a photograph is, synthesis aside, in the altar. This particular person is available directly down at the pixel level as well. The Sony Xperia Pro-I's pictures will frequently look less sharp and definite when completely zoomed in than those from a Pixel 6 Pro. Notwithstanding, a lot of this is down to research's far more prominent utilization of difference upgrade and edge honing. This ought to be where the bigger sensor pixels sparkle. At the same time, all things considered, it goes about as a show of how strong computational photography is in the absolute best camera phones. Google, Samsung, and Apple presently have incredible computational strategies. Sony, it falls behind a bit. The Sony Xperia Pro-I's evening pictures are somewhat more fragile than those taken with the iPhone 13, Pixel 6, or Galaxy S21 Ultra. While the camera has a night mode, it simply isn't at similar level as the greatest players as far as shadow detail, brilliance, and lucidity. Here is a correlation. Design. Recognizable Xperia design language. IP68 water resistance. Great form quality. We've covered the main pieces of the Sony Xperia Pro-I. What about the rest? The design is recognizable Sony. You get the stone monument design the organization has utilized for a long while now, however with Gorilla Glass Victus on the back and front, in addition to aluminum on the sides. These sides are furrowed for grasp, I assume. However, outwardly, there isn't actually anything here that gets the attention. The Sony Xperia Pro-I accompanies a headphone jack for sound checking during video recording, yet you can likewise involve it for music and digital broadcasts. It has a few genuinely great speakers as well. There's a sound system paired with fair yet not class driving volume, yet enough warmth and bass to abstain from sounding dainty. Sony adds its dynamic vibration include, which makes the vibrate engine buzz along to the bass. Yet, it's a piece senseless, truly, and doesn't add to the sound result, regardless of whether you put the phone on a level surface. However, gamers could appreciate it. Screen, one of the main phones around with a 4 Kelvin board. Utilization of OLED offers rich tones, various modes to get the best out of the display. The Sony Xperia Pro-I display is a 6.5 inches OLED with a 21:9 perspective 120Hz 4 Kelvin board. It evidently delivers at a lower goal more often than not, yet the high pixel thickness actually makes the pixel structure imperceptible. I've generally found displays of such high goal appease futile beyond cell phone VR, which nobody truly utilizes any longer. Display tone and picture quality are perfect. The length of view change to the maker mode. The standard one has a lot cooler variety tone and siphoned out immersion. The board is an OLED, so differentiation and dark levels are magnificent, no matter what the mode you choose to go with. Performance and battery duration. Top-of-the-line Qualcomm central processor. Not terrible, but not great either. Battery duration. Subpar charge speed. Thinking about its cost. The Sony Xperia Pro-I utilizes the well-known Snapdragon 888 processor, upheld by 12 GB of RAM and a tremendous 512 GB of storage, which you'd expect thinking about how much this phone costs. There's tiny important to see here. It's an incredible processor, regardless of whether it has since been supplanted by the 888 Plus and sufficiently beaten by Apple's A15 Bionic. It scores 3726 focuses in Geekbench 5. Arc endurance developed runs flawlessly maximized. And there's no undeniable slack in the connection point. I was unable to get Fortnite to introduce on the grounds that my survey test appeared to be hindered from side stacking applications. However, I can't envision the Pro-I will confront any issues around here, all things considered. However, battery duration could be better. The Sony Xperia Pro-I is certainly not a super thin handset. However, it has the battery of 1 at 4500 mAh limit. While the camera might occupy huge room, it will not stretch out across the entire of the back, ordering in best case scenario, average size battery. Its endurance is okay, yet nothing to yell about, which resembles most of non-extra huge top-end Android phones. I have found that it will most recent daily, pretty much, without passing on you with much extra charge to bring you into the second. It's neither incredible nor awful. A shrug. Charging speed is really medicinal, as well, despite the fact that Apple and Samsung are not really spearheads in this space by the same token. It requires 28 minutes to reach half, arriving at 82% in 60 minutes. A full charge takes 1 hour 46 minutes. The Sony Xperia Pro-I utilizes a 30-watt charger, distant from the OnePlus 9 Pro, and its 65-watt, 30-minute charger. Also, OnePlus isn't even the fastest phone around. As per Sony's spec sheet, there's no capacity for remote charging here by the same token. Finally, thanks for watching this video. See you again next time.